All right, let's go over an example of trying to estimate something and go through these concepts of sampling distributions and standard errors in that a little bit more tangible context. So, suppose that I'm a manager of an organization and I want to estimate what the typical satisfaction level among my clients is. And let's say that I don't want to contact all of my clients. That's going to be too timely and expensive. So instead, I decide to draw a random sample of clients of my organization and then poll them. How satisfied are you with my organization? Assume that I have a list of all of my clients and I use a random number generator to select a subset of those clients to contact. And the way that I measure their satisfaction is with this survey question. I say, tell us how satisfied you are with our services on a scale from 1 to 10, where a 10 means you're perfectly satisfied. For simplicity, I'm going to assume that every client I reach out to is willing to respond to our questions. But of course, in the real world, we usually can't get a perfectly random sample because there's going to be some self selection in terms of whether people decide to respond to a survey or not. But we'll ignore that complication for this example. So, a few questions. Based on what we know about this study that I'm trying to conduct, what is the population? Well, the population is every client of the program, including those that I don't contact. What about our sample? How would we define our sample in this example? That would be just the clients who respond to our survey question. And finally, what is the parameter that we want to learn about? Remember, the parameter is going to be a characteristic of the population. And more specifically, we would say that it's the average satisfaction among all of the clients of our program, the full population of clients. All right, with that knowledge, let's move on to thinking about our estimate. Once we've drawn our sample, we can use the following formulas that are going to help us make our estimates. First of all, the sample mean, which we're going to use the sample mean as our estimate of the population mean. The sample standard deviation, the mean standard error, or the standard error of the mean in our sample, or based on our sample. And finally, a confidence interval for our mean estimate for the population. So let's get some actual numbers. Let's say that my sample is very small. I only talked to 5 clients, and one of them tells me that they're very satisfied at a 9. One gives me very low satisfaction, a 1. We have another 9, and then 2 people who are in the middle, 5s and 6s. Well, if we get this sample of 5 clients, of course, in the real world, we probably want a larger sample than just 5. But for the simplicity of the math, let's start with a very small sample, just 5. We can calculate the mean. We see that the average is a 6, average satisfaction in our sample. Remember, we're trying to figure out what is the average satisfaction in the population among all clients. We're making a guess based on these 5 clients we've gotten a chance to talk to. Their average satisfaction is a 6. The standard deviation in their satisfaction is a 3.3, which makes sense, right? We had people who were super, super satisfied, pretty far away from our mean. One person who was very unsatisfied, 5 points lower than our mean. And then a couple of respondents who gave answers that were very close to our mean, right? So the standard deviation, again, rule of thumb is that it's the typical distance between a data point and the mean. That makes sense that the typical response was about 3 points away from our average of 6. The standard error estimate is 1.5 if we use this formula, which requires that we take the standard deviation and then we divide it by the square root of our sample size, 5. Then if we use this to construct a confidence interval, we get the range of 3 to 9. In other words, our point estimate, we call it, if we have to guess just with one number, what's our best guess for what the population mean is? We would say 6, since that's what our sample mean is. But if we want to give a range, we could say we're 95% confident that the population means somewhere between 3 and 9. Notice that that's a pretty meaningless estimate, right? The full range of satisfaction of our scale was between 1 and 10. So all we've done is narrowed it down to probably the average satisfaction level in the population is between 3 and 9. That's a huge range. We don't know if the average client is very satisfied, close to a 9, or very quite unsatisfied, close to a 3, right? The reason that we get such a big range is because we just collected this tiny, tiny sample. We can't create a very meaningful range or a very meaningful estimate based on a sample of only 5 clients. Now, a couple notes. Technically, the formulas that we just used aren't going to work so well with a sample smaller than 30. So this is just an example, a rough approximation. But if we really wanted to be rigorous, we would need to use the t-distribution as we talked about. And so we would need to use a number bigger than 2 when we calculated our confidence intervals. So the formulas we used work well with large samples, and we're applying them here with a small sample just for the sake of illustration, but just noting that technically this wouldn't be the way that we'd want to do it. As a reminder, we use real samples in the real world because we don't have access to data on a whole population. But it can be helpful for a thought experiment or to try to understand more about sampling and estimation processes to use an example where we do have data for an entire population. And as a thought experiment, think about drawing different samples from that full population. I'm going to pretend that my full population only has 20 clients and that I have data on all the clients. And I'm going to use some data that I made up where the true population mean is 6.15. This is what the distribution looks like for that full population of 20 clients. Again, I just made up this data, but in this data that I made up, again, the population mean is 6.15. And I want to do some simulations, see what it looks like if I take a random sample of 3 clients from this distribution of 20 clients. I'm going to repeat that process of taking samples of 3 10,000 times and see what kind of estimates I get. So here's a histogram of those 10,000 different estimates that I got. Remember, these are all based on a sample size of 3. So for each of these 10,000 random draws, what I did is I just randomly selected 3 clients from this data and used that mean as my estimate. So you can see that on average, we tend to get an answer that's pretty much accurate, right? The most common estimates that we're getting are in the range of around 6 to 6.5, right? And remember, the truth is 6.15. So we're getting pretty good estimates on average. But there's a big range. Some of our estimates are overestimates, right? We're getting estimates occasionally of 9, 9.5. Occasionally, we're getting large underestimates, estimates like 2, 3, that are much lower than what the true population mean is. So you can see that this estimation process, taking a sample of 3 out of these 20 clients, is not going to give us a perfectly accurate estimate all the time. On average, it gives us the right answer, but it is very imprecise. The standard error describes the standard deviation of this population or this distribution that we just plotted. In other words, the how big of a gap, how spread out this distribution is. Are we getting right on the nose all the time, or is it pretty spread out? So, sampling distribution, we say that it's unbiased, this process, because we're getting the right answer on average. And again, the standard error is the term we use to describe the standard deviation of this sampling distribution that was just plotted. Notice that the distribution of estimates looks sort of like a normal distribution. This kind of follows the pattern of a normal distribution, except there's these gaps. The reason it does that is because of the central limit theorem, which is covered in more detail later in this appendix or one of these appendices. And I can approximate the general rule for normal distributions based on this 95% fall within 2 standard deviations like we've talked about before. Now, let's try collecting different sample sizes. This was showing what our results could look like with a sample size of 3, but using this same population of 20 clients, what happens if we draw a sample of 5 or a sample of 10? Well, as our sample size gets larger, we should be getting more precise estimates, right? But let's see what this looks like. So here's that same distribution that we already saw, except the graph looks a little bit different because we've squished it down, right, to make room for 2 other graphs. So same histogram we saw before, even though it might not immediately be recognizable, but you can see that most of our estimates are coming in here around 6 to 6.5, but we do have a couple answers as large as 9, 9.5, as small as 2, 2.5. Right? That's the same histogram we looked at before. When we increase our sample size by adding 2 additional people to our sample size, again, we try this process 10,000 times and plot all of the different results that we get. You can see that we're still getting the right answer approximately on average, right? 6.15 is pretty close to what our average answer is across these 10,000 trials, simulations. And you can see that now this distribution is a little bit less spread out than this one was. Less spread out means a smaller standard error, more precision. When we move to an even larger sample size, 10, remember our population that we're working with is only 20 observations, right? So a sample size of 10 means we actually got half of the population in our sample. And in this case, we get even more precise, right? Now our answers are typically between 5, our estimates are between 5 and 7, right? Which is pretty close to the truth of 6.15. So until we get to a sample size of 10, we're really not that precise. But once we get here, we're usually able to tell what be within, a point or two of the truth. So as sample size increases, the estimates are more tightly clustered around the truth, the true population mean. In other words, the variance of the estimates decreases. Larger sample sizes yield more precise estimates. So again, hopefully this is a useful example of these ideas we've been talking about, how sample size is related to precision, what we mean by a sampling distribution, and what we mean by a standard error, the typical distance between the truth, 6.15 in this case, and any particular estimate that we get. All right, that's it for now, and I'll look forward to future videos.